Well, I hope you find the weight of respirators interesting, because that's all we're going to be looking at in this video. But today it's going to be about the cheek filter masks, because I know how everybody loves cheek filters. So first up we have an M17, because I thought we will actually use a proper M17. It's an M17A2, because you know this was like the cheek filter mask originally. Now it's the A2, so it will weigh a bit more than the original, I assume, because of the drinking tube on it. So let's turn this on. Because remember, originally cheek filter masks were meant to be lighter and more compact than regular respirators. So let's pop it on there. Okay, that is 850 grams. 850 grams. So that's not stupidly heavy. I always thought these would be closer to about a kilo, but 850 grams isn't bad. That is a very similar weight to most of the 40mm masks. There or thereabouts. But obviously it was meant to be much lighter. So let's contrast with that with the mask that the M17 was actually, originally meant to be like. So the M17 is 850 grams, so let's take that off and let's put the grasshopper on. Oh look, the XM28E4 is 430 grams, 420. So this is almost half the weight, not quite, but almost half the weight of the M17. So yeah, the grasshopper really is, what the cheek filter masks were meant to be like. 400 odd grams compared to 800 odd grams, that is a very big difference in weight. So, I said, yeah, so that's 420, 430 grams. Yeah, it's literally half the weight. Yep, so, as you can see, this is literally, would have been far superior if this is the original thing to be introduced. Now, saying that, the M17 is made from a stronger rubber. It is a lot more resilient to chemical weapons than this thing was. This is one of the problems of it. The M17 has slightly bigger cheek filters as well. So the M17's cheek filters compared to these would have lasted much longer, which was another problem with the grasshopper. As well as, the grasshopper not really being suitable for CBRN use. It was mostly against tear gas this was deployed. Unless you're unlucky enough to be issued it on the front line, I guess, and told that it was a general purpose gas mask. Anyway, so what we've learned is that the American standard was 840, 850 odd grams, and what it really should have been would have been about 400 to 450 grams if the mask went as it was designed originally. So, and when I say originally, I know the grasshopper is a later design, but what they had in mind when they wanted to introduce the M17 was something more like what this mask is. Okay, now let's look at a mask that's the closest thing I have to an original M17. It's a Polish MP4. The original Polish MP4 has no drinking tube on it. It's literally the M17 ABC, which was the original M17. So this has got its outserts on, I should point out. Because of the M17, the outserts are in the bag. I didn't bother putting them on. So let's put these on there. And that is about 930 grams. So obviously, with this, I don't know particularly if the original M17 was actually heavier and then they made it lighter over time, or if it's just that the M17, they really optimised the weight of it by the A2, so they got the weight down even with the drinking tube stuff attached to it. But yeah, this weighs a fair bit more than the original M17 did, about 800 grams more or something like that. But this is close to what an original M17 would actually be like if I had one. Obviously it would be in black rubber, not this sort of grey, but it's laid out the exact same way as the original M17 was. So yep, the Polish version of an M17 is about 930 grams. It operates the exact same way as the M17. I think it's got almost the exact same strap system as well. Okay, now let's see what Bulgaria has to offer in the realm of M17s. This is the Bulgarian Pde One, which is pretty much very similar to a Czech M10. So let's turn on the scales. This feels like the heaviest of the lot, actually, holding it in my hand. It's actually a very similar weight to the Polish one. It just feels a lot heavier, I don't know why. But yeah, like 920, 930 grams. So that's actually very interesting, because I was expecting that to be heavier. But for whatever reason, the Polish one feels lighter, which is a nice thing, I guess, because even if there's two things of the same weight, the one that feels lighter is probably the one you'd rather have on. The rubber definitely feels nicer on the Polish one as well. The Bulgarian one is still covered in talc, as you can see on the eyepieces. The Bulgarians, for whatever reason, both my Bulgarian masks came absolutely coated in talc. I mean, it's like they paid a guy to literally cake masks in talc in the factories. No idea why. I'm just saying, like, if you think Soviet masks are bad, wait till you see Bulgarian masks. But anyway, there you go. So weight-wise, there's nothing special about this. It's literally the same weight as the Polish one was, and this has the outserts on. The Polish one had the outserts on, so yeah, no actual real difference here at all. So here we have the Czech M10, not the M10M. I weighed that the other day. This is just a regular Czech M10, the one where I ripped it, putting the filters in. So as you can see, this looks very much identical to that one we just looked at, the Bulgarian one, except this is in a grey rubber. I don't have the outserts on this either, so bear in mind that will kick a bit of weight off. However, the really nice Czech rubber on here feels like it's going to weigh a bit less, so let me just wrap the strap around it and pop it down. And yeah, I was correct. Obviously this doesn't have the outserts on, but the outserts would not add 100 odd grams to it. So this is actually a bit lighter than my M17A2, which is quite impressive. Now, I'm not a big fan of this mask, as you all know, but that's mostly just due to the fact that all the filters for it are outdated and that, you know, you can't put them in easily and it's very frustrating putting them in. But in terms of actual, you know, weight, they've done quite a good job optimising this. I mean, knocking nearly 100 grams off is quite impressive, to be honest. Yep, even when I move it around on the scale, let's just sit it up if it will sit up. Yeah. 820 odd grams is pretty good for this mask, as you can see. So yeah, that's quite impressive to me that they've managed to get the mask weighing that. So yeah, props to the M10 for actually managing that. I mean, I know the drinking tube system adds quite a lot of weight onto the other model of it. About 100 grams I think it was. However, yeah, that's quite impressed me that it didn't weigh as much as I thought it did. So, out of all the communist ones that we've looked at, I think this is the best one. But now let's get out the PBF, because that's actually made to a different design, and just look at that one again. Okay, so the Soviet PBF respirator that lots of you know as a combined soldier mask, because if you took the cheeks off it'd be the combined soldier mask from Half-Life 2. Let's stick that down. Just try and turn him around so he sits up on his own. There we go. So that is the lightest one of the lot, about 790 grams, sort of 800 grams sort of range. So yeah, out of all the cheek filters excluding the XM28, this is the lightest one. Now the cheeks are actually bulkier on this simply because they've got bigger filters in, you know, they're more oval shaped rather than pork chop shaped. But out of all of them, this is the actual design I like the most. Because it's stretchy Soviet latex, I didn't have too much issue getting the cheek filters into this mask. And alignment isn't as important because they're an oval shape, not sort of a pork chop shape. The voice diaphragm on this mask is very good. As I've complained many times, I wish they did a 40mm version of this, where the cheeks were like completely cut down and off, and then you had a 40mm screw, like exactly like they look in Stalker. That would have been amazing. But yeah, the fact that this weighs 800 grams or under is really impressive to me as a cheek filter mask. You know, it does its job of what it was meant to do, which is be lighter than most conventional respirators. However, saying that, Soviet respirators are lighter than the NATO ones anyway, due to what they're made from. So when you add a 40mm GOST filter to any of the other ones, they would end up about this weight anyway. So it's not impressive in that regard, but it is impressive at least that the Soviet cheek filter mask was the lightest of the lot, ignoring the XM28. And PBF, as said, I don't know if the filters are safe, so I advise you not to really breathe through them for a long time. But for what it is, I quite like the PBF. I think it's a good mask, and as I said before, I just really wish they'd done a 40mm version of it, because that would have been amazing. But there we go. That's the weight of a load of cheek filter masks. So as you can see, most of them weigh in around 800 to 900 grams sort of range. The XM28 being the one that took the cake because it was only about 420 grams. So, you know, it really did its job of being a super lightweight gas mask. But yeah, cheek filter masks are obviously obsolete for a reason. It's not good to have a filter you can't change without taking it off on the inside of the mask. They're also a real pain in the arse to change the filters on these because of how, you know, like tight they sit into the mask. It's not an easy job of once the mask's off you can just pull it out and slap a new one in. Nope. But, you know, if you're interested in kind of failed ways things evolve, this is the way it went. Cheek filters and then back to 40mm. You know, or from 60mm cheek filters back to 40mm for some of these nations. But there we go. If you're interested in the weights of cheek filter masks, hopefully this video has been interesting.